Hello, everyone, and welcome to this morning's webinar. We are looking at exploring the features and functionality of the Mississippi Development Authority ZoomProspector site selector tool. Now, with that, I just want to take a moment to thank you all for taking time out of your busy days. And I am here with Bill Ashley, the Director of Business Research and Workforce Development, and Maureen Murphy, Sites and Buildings Database Business Intelligence and Support. Hello, Bill and Maureen.
Hello, Lisa. How are you?
We're great. We're really excited to be co-presenting this with you today. And I know that you wanted to take a few minutes to speak to everyone who's joining us here on the webinar.
Yes, I guess welcome today, our local economic developers and others. I appreciate you participating in this webinar. I know I've got a little history to share. I know when I first got here, it was only 9 months ago, and in that, I guess, first week, it had a couple of conversations which led to phone calls to local developers throughout the state to get their ideas about what we could do to better sell our state. From that, talked to our site selection consultants. We have several that are very active in the state. Talked internally to our project managers as well as our internal research staff. And then from those conversations, we created some surveys, did some groundwork there and looked at other products. And from those surveys, we've had a couple of, I guess, push polls through our MEDC meetings. And from here, we're now standing at the precipice of a launch. And I know this was very participative throughout the state. And I look forward to working with this new product to sell our state. And I know the key thing is for us all to look at what we have in here. I know we've had a migration of this data, so it's key for everyone to look at what they see when they get the password when Maureen gives it out, to go in and check all their properties for accuracy. And I know I've had some comments. We've sent this out a couple of times to people to get their comments. I know a couple of utility partners have looked at it. I know that they would like to see some refreshed data as far as pictures and as far as information related to the sites and buildings, sites specifically, if there's something that's updated. I know some of the Google Earth, some of the pics that are public domain, or I guess Google Earth is kind of, there's a lag to it. So they've reached out to us about that. And as a result, I know from my experience in looking at PDDs, I've already reached out to one of them to try to get on an agenda to talk to all of them about supporting. And I know they have various and sundry tools that are available, but talking to all the planning and development districts about helping facilitate this to get content as far as pics and other things up to I guess modern. I say modern, but up to date best we can. I know we're always working through this database and answering RFIs, and a lot of team work goes into this. And I just want to extend that again, that we need to work as a team on getting all this content refreshed. Maureen?
Yes, I'm Maureen Murphy, and I've been here, well, a while. And I've worked with the Building and Site Database for a while. So some of y'all are familiar with me, working with the database and working with y'all. It's, this particular tool is really pretty neat. I think y'all will find it very nice to work with. It's very robust, and it's intuitive. And if you ever have any questions, y'all can call me anytime. But at the end of the webinar, when I get a list of the people who register today, I'll be sending out information to y'all to let you know what your passwords are and how to log into the system, so you can get in there and start working and looking around and seeing how it works. Also a link to the live site, so you can look at that. Please, always reach out and let us know and look around. Everything y'all put in there, it's important, and we want to see what you have. So we're looking forward to working with you. Have a great day, y'all, and enjoy the webinar.
And I would also like to add too that Chris Smith, our Bureau Manager for Data Analytics, is also on the call today as well. Chris works with myself and Maureen I know I started this process and I didn't want to just hand it off to Chris. Chris is new to the agency. He got here at Christmas, so he's been here 3 months or so. But I know Chris Smith is here with us today as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bill and Maureen, for your introductions, for your explanations as well. I'm also here with my colleague today, Stevie Field Chavez, who works with communities across the state of Mississippi. Hello, Stevie.
Hello, Elisa and Bill and Maureen. It's so great to work with you.
We are glad to be here with you today, and I'm going to turn the reins over to you in just one moment. But before I do, I like to set the stage in these webinars by just giving you a quick overview of some of the things Stevie's going to be talking about as she shows you the tool. So you'll see that ZoomProspector is really a cutting-edge, intuitive, user-friendly site selection tool. It's also a community data tool, and you'll see that you can do community comparison as well. All of our tools are completely mobile responsive and fully featured. So no matter what devices the website visitors are on, they're going to get every one of the features, the maps, all the reports and everything, and be able to do that on whatever size screen they're using. You'll see that the data within the reports is dynamic. And what that means is if someone changes a variable or goes in and toggles a switch on or off, it automatically changes all of the data on the map and in the reports on the fly. So that makes it very nimble and flexible and easy to analyze. You're going to see some different map tools like Radius, Pinpoint, and our free draw tools so that people can go in and analyze the specific parts of any of the geography that they're interested in. And you'll see that you have both the ability to save properties into project folders, whatever, as many as you want, without having to log in. And also she's going to show you our very powerful share button, which lets you share a link back to the tool or the report or the map or the property with the click of a button. And that's really powerful because that brings people back to the website, which is often what we want to do, right? We don't want to send them static PDFs. We want them to come back and do their research. And then ultimately, we want them to contact your organizations and the brokers so that they can get more information about the properties. And so with that, I'm going to turn this over to you, Stevie. Let me just pass you the presenter controls, and you can take us on a tour of the tool.
Wonderful. Lisa, I have to ask that wonderful question. Can you see my screen?
I can now, yep.
Very good, very good. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is going to be, as Elisa said, an overview of the new MDA site selection application. We're also going to go a little bit into the back end, and we're going to talk about the new proposal generation system, which is pretty interesting. So with that, let's just jump into it. So this is what the application here looks like. You can see we've got the fantastic state of Mississippi here outlined with all of the different properties that we have available. All of our maps are interactive, so you can just kind of hold your mouse and move them around, scroll in, scroll out. All of that is pretty standard, I would imagine, for tools like this, but there's some really cool, neat features that we're gonna kind of highlight as we go on. So we're going to operate this as if we were a user searching for sites or buildings. Any user can come to the application and search by city, by county, and of course by the entire state. You really don't even have to enter the information in there. By just clicking on here, I'm going to get a drop down, but every time you enter a letter, it's going to kind of sort down into some of the different communities, of course, starting with that letter. I can search for buildings, for sites, by square feet, by acres of minimum and maximum size, for sale or for lease, and various types of property. Now, I will, you know, and you're going to hear me say this quite a bit, but hats off to MDA for creating, there's so many different options here, which is great because it allows the user to find a site or building based on any of the criteria that you have listed here in terms of types of property. But it also allows you, the economic developer, to enter properties in your own communities that have multiple different types here. So some of our clients are very limited to the types of property, which is not a good or bad, but I love having additional options. You also have the ability to search by filters. By filters will allow you to search by location, property name, different building details like for sale, for lease, building site, size, lease rate, etc. But you also can search by property type and property assets. So this means that if I select opportunity zone, it is only going to then populate the application showing me forward facing any site or building in an opportunity zone. So this just filters out everything that is not one of these boxes that you've selected. So anything that's not in a foreign trade zone, if I selected that, would be filtered out. I'm going to show you a little back-end information about this as we proceed, because there's a couple little points I want to come back to this that's important that you know. So after making, going through the different options that we have, a couple of other key features is the ability to select an area. We understand in economic development, companies maybe don't understand which or know which community they want to be in, which county they want to be in, and sometimes they really don't care. It's all about where the incentives are and the right building. This allows the user to maybe freehand draw an area on the map and only select a site or building within that very poorly drawn blob there that they may need to be somewhere in the center of the state, or they need to be maybe by a body of water or by a port or some other key feature. And this just allows them to select an entire region to look for sites and buildings based on their criteria. Another cool thing for you in economic development, and I speak to this as I am a former client. I was in economic development myself for many of years. I was GIS Planning's first multi-regional client, probably 21, 22 years ago. This pinpoint tool was kind of my saving grace. So I would get those phone calls that would ask if I could tell them the demographic makeup of 5 miles from a particular intersection, and I could enter in by address. I can also just drop a pinpoint. So by dropping in a pinpoint, I'm going to get all of the same data within a user entered radius of that particular pinpoint. So it's a very helpful tool. So you don't have to have a site or building identified in order to get the same data that we're going to take a look at. Now, as Elisa mentioned, we have the ability to save properties. It is one of my favorite features because it allows so much flexibility. So you can see we have our featured properties here on the map. They are in no particular order. They're just featured because we want to provide, get a little bit more additional exposure to them. So I have Project Hotty Toddy. My daughter went to Ole Miss, so I felt like I can, we paid for that, so I feel like we can we can say that. And so I have saved some of these properties into my folder. So let's take a look at my folder. You do not need to be a client of GIS Planning or register in order to create folders. You can create as many folders as you like, and you can have as many saved properties in these folders as you like. So I've got my 4 saved properties, which you can see are mapped on my map. I have 3 kind of in the northern part of the state and then 1 here, very southern part of the state. This share button is your magic. So this allows you to copy the code that's automatically generated. I always suggest you rename your code. No one wants to see a bunch of code in an email or a newsletter. So there's ways, of course, when you're writing out an email, I'm sure you're all very familiar with that, to rename that code. You can embed that in a social media blast, an electronic newsletter in the middle of your email. You can also email directly within your little box here. So if you've got properties, you've sorted properties for your community, you've saved them in a folder, you're now going to create that share button to create that code, and you can post on social media or that electronic newsletter about these new properties that you have that just came online in this new industrial park, for example. And when your user clicks on that, they're going to go directly into this page live in the state GIS application. So that's exactly what you want, because now they can actually view the details of a particular property as well as all of the supporting data that goes with that property. And if you activate different map layers, that share button is still available for you. So let's take a look at one of these properties here, and we'll look at some of the supporting information that comes with this application. At first, here we have the property here, Alliance US Highway 45 site. On all of these property cards and some of these different reports here, you're going to see the city and county profile information. You can click on that anytime, and it's going to give you an aggregate of a lot of the information that we're going to take a look at. So you can really see kind of an overview of the city. Each of the communities, or each of the properties, excuse me, will have the virtual tour, the 360 virtual tour, map view, street view, and 3D rotation. You can upload video and drone imagery if you have that on hand. That's easy to do. You can also upload various attachments. So if you have different flyers that come with that property, you can always upload those. Include a brief description. If you're entering the property information, it's important that you include a description. We're going to get into that here in a little bit, but this is a brief description of the property as well as various property details. Here's that city and county profile information we were just talking about. Availability, building details. You can see that all of the fields here that enter have an actual response to them. So you're not going to get a bunch of blanks if you don't have information about that particular question. There are required fields to be entered, and we'll touch on that here in a bit. So we have a lot of great information here on this property, utility information, and then we have contact information here below. So all of that's really important information. You, as the economic developer, will be allowed to enter properties for your community, and I'll show you how to do that. Your brokers can also enter properties by clicking this Add Properties button, and we'll go into that. So all of these data points here on these data tabs are all included with the subscription. Here we have our occupation data. This is provided by MZ, otherwise known as EMSI. Everybody says a little bit different. This provides us our annual, hourly, and job information by both occupation and NAICS code. It's 0 to 60 minutes from your site or pinpoint of interest or from a community, because you can get this information as a community. So I can just drag my little circle here to a larger radius, or I can enter my information directly in my little box below. And this is going to provide me my occupation information by category. This little lever over here will allow me to see this information in heat signature or thematic maps. It's just another way to look at data. You can see it populating our map here below. This information is updated 2 times annually, and we never have to take the site down to upload this information. It's automatically just pushed out to our clients. Demographics, labor force, and consumer expenditure information is brought to you by Applied Geographic Solutions. They're in Thousand Oaks, California. We update this information 2 times annually. It has our 2020 information as well as projected 2025 information, and we can see this information in multiple formats. So this is what we call our report form. And then we have our heat signature, which you saw a little just a moment ago, and we also have our graph form. So everyone absorbs data differently. I am more of a graph form, picture form person, and so this is going to resonate a little bit more to me than the report format. So this just allows that same data to be absorbed in a different way. This information I mentioned is updated 2 times annually. It is zip +4 data all the way down to the block group. So we're really getting in the weeds in terms of all of these different numbers. And again, you have the ability to use that share button to share this information with a prospect that you might be working with. Labor force and consumer expenditures looks very similar. They're just different reporting factors. So consumer expenditures will be where our residents are spending their money. Labor force is going to break out our company's sizes. You can see here we've got our apparel breakdown, entertainment breakdown, etc. Wage and salary information is brought to you by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's updated annually. It has our occupations by both mean and median hourly and annual wages. And we also have subcategories, which I like because it really allows you to do a little bit more investigative work on some of the wages in different occupation fields. I think I mentioned the source, but just to kind of reiterate, this is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it's updated annually. Our business information is my favorite report of all of them. It's very, very detailed, and this is really going to, I think, help you out when you're working with a prospect. So here we're going to have our default is a 1 mile radius, so we'll change that. We'll go out 12 miles. This again goes out to 60 miles. This is brought to you by Info USA, otherwise known as Info Group, and I do believe they just changed their name to Data Axle, if I am correct on that. So we've gone out 12 miles, and we can see various businesses here on our map populating our little circle here. And here's a breakdown on the side of our page showing us various businesses by different category. I want to take a look at the professional, scientific, and technical services, and maybe I'm interested in some tax service companies. I'm working with a prospect, they're a tax agency. I want to see who my competitors are within that user entered radius. So I've now selected that with my mouse, and you can see it's going, I'm going to go out a little bit further so we can capture maybe a little bit more data. You can see how fast that rewrites. So this is going to show me where all of my tax agencies are within 25 miles of the site of interest. So if I'm looking to build a tax service company building, I can see where my competitors are. If you're working with an industrial manufacturer, for example, or somebody else in any other kind of business category, you can map out suppliers, you can map out competitors, and again, you're able to share this information so when working with a prospect, they're able to see that within 25 miles of the site that they're looking at, this is where their competitors or suppliers or distributors might be located. This information is updated daily. As Info USA or Data Axle updates their information, the business data updates automatically. So we're getting the most current information out there available. Talent information is going to map our learning institutions. So we are going to show not only where these learning institutions are located. I believe this report goes up to 90 miles. The default is typically at 50 miles. So it will map out the learning institutions. I'm sorry, there's a little bit of a delay with the GoToMeeting. I usually have several tabs up here, which I do. So here's our learning institutions within a 50-mile radius. We have our programs by graduates, number of graduates, our top university by number of graduates, as well as a breakdown of our field of study and with which degree these graduates are graduating with and from which learning institution. So it answers that question for those prospects you're working with, if those graduates coming out of one of the learning institutions actually, you know, is in the field of study that they need. So all of this data goes over city, county, and state line. So you don't have to worry about the data stopping because you may be a border city or a border community. It will go straight over city, county, and state line. This More tab is going to break out our city and county profile information. So as mentioned, this is an aggregate of the information that we were looking at, kind of all of these little points here. So it's going to have our demographic makeup, our gender profile, our age distribution, actual, you know, median age. Here you can see how our ages have changed over the years, population growth, educational attainment, universities, talent, etc. So there's some interactivity to it. It provides current and some past data, so you can see how things have changed in previous years. And again, you have the ability to, you can look at this information at any time. You can search it not only in the actual progression of searching a site and building and all of the different reports that go with it, but you have the ability to search by community. This community tab allows you to just go ahead and search by any community, city or county. It's alphabetized. You can sort it by name, you can sort it by population, and then any of your communities that have properties will have that Find Properties button as well. The Find Details information will allow you to, let's see if we can find a larger community here. Let's see, here's one. We'll look at Boonville. So I'm going to view the details, and you can see it's kind of got that community profile that we looked at earlier, but here's all of those tabs that we just saw. So you do not need to have a city or county identified in order to get this information. It's all here by community as well. Compare Communities is one of our newer rolled out tools. This allows you to compare any community within the state to any community outside of the state, or even within the state, one against another. It's city for city, county for county. So I'm going to look at Oxford. That'll be our first community. And then I am in Columbia, South Carolina. So I'm going to add Columbia, South Carolina here as one of my, there we go. So we can compare, as we know in economic development, a lot of our competitors are not necessarily the city or the county next door. So this allows more of that apples to apples comparison on demographics, labor force, and consumer expenditure information, even across the globe, or across the nation, excuse me. So you can see, you know, yes, Columbia is significantly more in population than Oxford, but I bet the consumer expenditure for Oxford exactly is very, very comparable. You can kind of see. So this all just helps the argument of why I should expand or relocate to Oxford. That's not necessarily population driven, but it's you know, disposable income. And again, you have the ability to share this community. So just because this one is kind of a big one to talk about, it's city for city comparison or county to county. I can add multiple cities and counties to compare together. As long as you start with a city or county within the state, you can compare to any other city or county outside of the state. So that's kind of a fun tool to use. So let's kind of go in a little bit to the back end and look at how properties are added in the system. So we have an Add Properties button. I'm going to select the Add Properties button, which is going to bring me to a login request box. This allows me, if a password or an account has not already been created, and I think we've got some accounts that have already been created, and we'll touch on that here towards the end. If I don't have an account, or one of my staff doesn't have an account, this allows me to fill out the information, which will go to the MDA team that can grant me a request to have an account to log in. Your email is your username. You create your own password, finish entering the information. Again, that gets sent to the MDA team. Once that account is granted, you can then log into the system, and it's going to just kind of take me to my login square. My information's automatically populated. You can actually have your system remember your information. I can log in, and then I can see all of the properties under my username and account, and how many properties I have, how many are active, how many are inactive. So I'm sorry, let me close that out. So let's look at our properties account here. We can view and edit properties. We can also add properties in this field. I've selected that view, edit properties information. So this is when you can see all of the properties under your username. I can see all of the properties that I've entered or someone on my team has entered under our username, and I can add, delete, and modify any of these properties. To add a property, you can simply go to add a new property. There's properties up at the top, or add a property. There's multiple ways to get to the same information. It's a very easy system to manage. So to add a property, I'm simply going to click add a property, and it's going to take me through some fields. It's all data entry. It's super, super easy. I name my property. Of course, the state information is super easy. Address. For those who are parcels of land and they don't actually have an address, you have the ability to move your little balloon around just to find exactly where that parcel might be located. The lat long is automatically generated for you. I have, the ability to select. We have a lot of drop-down menus here. This red field that you see that means that that field is required. You must have an entry in that box in order to save and move on to the next page. You will, as you go into adding properties, it's very easy to tell which fields are required. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to ask us or the MDA team. This box here is really helpful for if you have a flyer, you can copy and you can paste information here on a flyer. You can also add links, you can decorate it. So this just allows that description that we looked at on the original property card. This is for that description. It's simple. I can select call center, what type of call center it is. Is it a lease property? This is a test site, so I apologize for that. Do I know the lease square footage? Once this page is filled out and I have all my required fields entered, I can save this page and go to the next tab. Until those required fields are entered, it will not let me save and go to the next tab. I must have those entered in order to proceed. So it's really easy data entry, super easy to manage. I'm going to go back to the admin page because I want to show you how to actually manage some of these properties as well. So let's view our properties. And we understand there may be questions for this, so don't feel like you have to get it now. If you have questions, again, you can email us, you can contact us and or the MDA team, and we'll make sure that we walk you through it and answer any questions that you have. We understand that there's a lot here to grab onto. So if you have a property in your community and you've entered this information, but you know that this property is under letter of intent, you no longer want that property to be forward facing. It is super important. I know you'll understand and agree in economic development that we only have active properties and sites and buildings available in our forward-facing system. It is not right. It is no fun for a site selector or a prospect to find the perfect site or building and it's no longer available. They tend to lose faith in our system. So it's important that we actually kind of, stay involved with that. And we have a couple mechanisms built in to help that be easy. So we have the ability, if this property is under a letter of intent, one click and this property is now inactive and no longer forward-facing. So in one click, this property can no longer be found by the public, even though it's still in the system. If it fell out of letter of intent, I simply one click, reactivate that property, and it is now forward facing. If you have, let's say, an office building that has multiple suites, rather than re-enter all of the same information again, I can simply copy this listing, edit the suite number and my square footage, maybe add a couple of other pictures, and post that. And I have just saved myself any trouble of uploading this information. We can also sometimes get little pieces of information like how many properties, how many times a building has been seen, how many times it's been saved, when it was last modified, etc. You will see we have an expiration system, and I don't know, I should have asked, but I don't know the time period the MDA has set, but this is an automatic expiration system. The value of this is that you don't have to kind of remember when you put a property in. It's once you've entered a property, the date of expiration is automatically generated for you. 30 days before expiration, you will get an email asking if this property is still current. In the email, you click yes, and that property is automatically renewed for a new cycle. If you click no, that property is automatically set as inactive until you go into the system and reactivate that property. And if you don't click anything on expiration date, that property will automatically be set as inactive until you or someone can go in and reactivate that property. So it's a very, very easy system to manage. You can't break it. You can't do anything wrong to it. And if you by chance deleted a property, first of all, it's going to prompt you on why this property is being deleted. Has it been leased or sold? So we like to gather information for our clients on that particular property, but we can always recover that information for you if that happened in error. Now, another new feature that MDA will have and will take advantage of is our new proposal generation system. So this is an example. This is just kind of done internally. So you can see this is Duke Energy. It's just I had this happen to be on hand. So it will allow MDA to include properties that are available for this particular prospect. Those properties will map automatically. You can see I can view any details about this property, video, drone imagery, etc. And then each of these tabs can be named whatever MDA wants them to be named. They can create a new proposal for every prospect. They can use the same proposal template. They can change color, etc. There's so many ways to build these out. The imagination is really the only limit. So as one of the users for your county, you will have access to be able to create different proposals in the back end of the system. This will be in the proposal generation system under proposals. You will also be part of the active needs. So, and there probably will be a whole training on just these two pieces. So don't panic, because I know there's a lot of information here. So MDA may have a prospect that they're working with and need to do what an RFI or an RFP, searching for available sites and buildings that meet their requirement. They can put what we call an active need together, which basically entitles the project, allows a project status of what this project is looking for and any requirements that they may have, as well as a due date to submit properties. You can simply go into the application, select properties, and submit them for consideration on that project. The good news is the only properties that can be considered for this proposal system must be in the system. They don't have to be active, but they do need to be in the system. So you can update properties and you can include them, you can submit them for consideration. MDA then can go through and they can view any properties that were submitted for consideration, and they can reject or approve those properties. You can see here we've got some approved properties. Any approved properties will automatically start building in their proposal. I know that's just a ton. I did want to provide just a really brief overview because I imagine the MDA is a really great and actually very easy system to use. It's just a lot of kind of information to give at the beginning. So we will teach you, we'll do a separate training on just the proposal generation system and how that works, and how to submit properties for consideration if you are to receive an RFI or RFP requesting property information. But that is one of the benefits that you have in using the system. MDA negotiated a great deal for all of the communities within the state, so which is really awesome. You know, again, in economic development, it's always so helpful when the state has your back like that, and so they definitely negotiated a great deal. So communities have a very discounted package or discounted investment for the full package of everything we offer, which includes probably 5 or 6 other tools that we won't get into today. It includes everything that you've seen here. It would just be built for your city and your county. It includes as well the map layers, very similar to what MDA has here, as well as the ability to add additional map layers. So we include a bunch of different map layers here for you. This would just all be branded for your community, and the systems will be programmed to talk to each other. So for example, any properties in your application would automatically update in the state application and vice versa. I'm pleased that Marion County is one of our first new clients with under the state application, I'll say, offer, and so we're really excited to have them and build that system for them. Elisa, we must have questions, so let's maybe address some of the questions and make sure that we kind of hit those and people feel like they kind of understand the system and what's available for it.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So just a reminder, if you have questions, please put them in the questions field in the GoToWebinar control panel. We do have a few questions already waiting for us. If new properties are added or removed from a folder, does the originally created share link still work, or do you need to create a new share link? It's a good question.
Ooh, that's an excellent question. So I'm not quite sure who asked that, But I typically would give a cookie just to anyone who asked a question that's not been asked before, and that would be it. That's an excellent question. So let's see, we have our share button. It kind of ends with FCB. So let's see how we unclick this. Let's go to, let me see, we're in our folder. So I've unclicked that. I'm just trying to work, oh, there we go. So I've unclicked this and it's refreshed, and I guess it's going to, the code looks to be the same, but because I've removed that property, it looks like it will only just have those two properties in. So I hope that kind of has answered the question. I've never been asked that. I've never tried that before. So
yeah,
that was,
nor have I, actually. That is a good one. And so,
yeah,
yes, it does seem as if
a
once
great
you create the folder, the share link for the folder stays the same, even if you change the properties or add or recreate. So that's a good one. And we do have some clients who might want to link to a folder of specific properties on their website. So that's a really good thing to know.
Yeah.
I noticed the heat map showed some counties in Tennessee, but not all. What counties are shown in neighboring states? And I don't remember which actual heat map that was, but maybe let's go try and create that again with a heat map and see what shows up.
Yes, and we'll just, I'm not sure which tab that was. So some clients, it looks like MDA did something similar, will go, I mean, data goes over city and county state line for sure, but we don't want to show all the data for all the communities. This here is a community that's by the state line. A lot of these will go over maybe by 30 minutes or so. I'm not quite sure which tab that we hit to do that. So it looks like that started, let's see. I don't think if I changed my radius, if that's, you can see it's going to change, it'll stop, but the heat signature stops at state line, even though the data will not. We're still getting that data. So that's kind of an interesting, I know exactly what we talked, what you saw, because I remember seeing it too. I know South Carolina did the same thing with going over state line 30 minutes. So let's look at management occupations and see if that was it. Yeah, so that just went, that's probably a good 30-minute drive outside of the state line. So that's probably why that was there.
There you go.
I think that's, yeah, I think that's probably it. I'll check with our team. So it looks like, you know, you've got just some of your neighboring bordering communities.
Okay, Jennifer wants to know, will there be an option to draw the parcel lines on the map?
Draw parcel, so that would be a community feature. If you have your own application and you want parcel maps on there, we can connect to your ArcGIS server. We also can get those map layers in the form of shape files or KML files. So the answer is yes, you would just need your own application in order to do that. So if the state added all of the parcel maps, well, that would just be crazy busy. I mean, we could do it for sure, but that would be a lot of connection to a lot of communities. So, but yes, your answer is yes, we can do that. We can add any map layer any community wants to add, and I always encourage communities to get creative as well. Some of our other clients will have things like music venues and different bike routes or water sewer line capacity, for example. So there's multiple different map layers that you can add to the application.
Excellent. Curtis wants to know, what's the cost of the community version of this that the MDA has negotiated?
It depends on the population size, but it is between $3,000 and $10,000 annually. It comes with not only the GIS application and the proposal generation system, but 3 sets of analytics, to include a set of analytics that will tell you the actual name of the company on your website and what type of property they searched for, which information they looked at, and then all of the same data points that we looked at inside of the GIS application, we give those to you so they live actually outside of the GIS application. For example, that place in your website that you have a a button that goes to demographics, and you might have a PDF document of demographic information. This would be an embeddable report that drops directly into your application, your website, and it is the exact same information that you see inside the GIS tool, updated multiple times annually. It's the same for the business report. It's an incredible package. I'm happy to set up a demo with you, so we can. The smaller communities are, of course, $3,000 annually. The multi-regionals would be that $10,000 annually, and it comes with everything. So all of this, of course, includes customer service and training and marketing assistance with our dear Elisa.
Yes, exactly. I'm always happy to work with all the clients one-on-one to make sure they're getting maximum value out of the tool and share best practices, tips, and tricks for promotion and use of the tool in your marketing. Kristen wants to know, can you update properties that you did not directly add with your own ID or login?
Oh, Kristen, I'm giving you another cookie too, because that was a great question. So we actually just had this conversation before the start of the demo. And the question was, it's exactly your question. I'm gonna kind of state it in a different way. So I, let's say, am part of a county in Mississippi. And so I wanna control, add, delete, modify any property within my county boundaries. And I believe the answer of, and Bill or Maureen, if I am incorrect in this, let me know, but I believe the answer to this was yes. So if you see that you have brokers who have added properties in your system, and you know that property is under letter of intent or it's been sold and the broker hasn't updated it, you will have the ability to add, delete, or modify that property as long as you have. We'll create that specific admin level for you. It's what we call a tier 2 admin level. It allows that person to add, delete, or modify any property within their community or geographic boundary. So it makes it real easy because you know best the properties and what's happening with them in your community. It creates less quote management for MDA, and it just allows for the chances of more updated current property information. So yes, I believe that answer is going to be yes.
And also too, Stevie, we're planning on sending out, if we have the credentials from the meeting today, from I think we start out with 36 out of the 42, then Maureen's going to send them their credentials.
Oh, very good, very good. Okay, and if anyone has any questions on logging in or getting started, once you have your credentials, it's really kind of straightforward on adding a property here. You've got it up here at the top. So it's super easy to find, and it's really just data entry. But if you get stuck at all, please feel free. You can email support@gisplanning.com. You can email Maureen, and then Elisa will have my contact information in the back at the end as well, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Excellent, perfect. I believe that is all the questions that we've got here right now. If anyone does have any others, feel free to put those in. Anything else that you want to cover or that you'd like us to add? And Bill and Maureen, feel free to step in here if there's anything else.
I know you'd mentioned the map layers. I know we have what we call MARIS. This is at the statewide level. It's the Mississippi Automated Resource Information System, and they have a bunch of different types of layers. I know initially when we looked at this and got everything uploaded that Jeff wanted to put them all in. I said, let's not put them all in. But at the same time, MARIS is a state repository, so there are other ways to add layers. And I know eventually, make sure we have the rail lines correct, making sure we have MDOT and our Mississippi as well as US highways and interstates. I know those are some layers that we want to add going forward.
Yes.
Very good. I think map layers are so interesting. It just allows that end user to gather additional information on that site or building. So when your phone rings and they're on the other end and they're asking about this property, hopefully they're ready to kick a little dirt, so to speak, and get out there and take a look at it. and because a lot of the information was there. I mean, with especially with the environmental layers already there, is it in an incentive zone already there? And Elisa mentioned something that was really important that I kind of want to touch on again super quick is, the state application is here. It is free for all of you in economic development to use. And of course, site selectors and prospects looking at the state for expansion and relocation. That share button, you can save all of the properties in your community in a folder if you want and share that button and create that button so you can really kind of just help push traffic to the site and get your sites out there. So you can use those in very creative ways. And, I think the state did an excellent job with the application. And so I know you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it. It'll answer a lot of questions. A lot of times it's more like having another staff person on your team.
Stevie, we do have a question that asks if we can generate PDFs or PDF flyers from the system.
Yes. Yes, they'll be branded with the Mississippi Development Authority branding and contact information. If you have your own application, of course, that will be branded with yours, but that PDF and that flyer information is there at the top of the property. Here it is, PDF right here. You can print, I can share, and additional documents. So if additional documents have been added, you can always print those out as well. Great question. We've had some good questions today.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see any other questions at the moment. So just a reminder that we're recording this session and you will get an email from us by tomorrow with a link to this. And you'll also have contact information for Maureen and for Stevie and myself in there. So you can reach out if any new questions occur to you after today. Otherwise, I think this probably brings us to the end of our presentation here today. Stevie, Bill, Maureen, thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. This was nice.
And thank you to all of you who've taken time out of your busy days. We appreciate the work you do for your communities, and we look forward to working with you as we move forward to launch this when it's ready. So thank you very much, and have a great day and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.